Entering our second season of Blood Time, we want to thank not only our phenomenal and remarkable individuals that were our guests, but also the support, the incredible support that we have had throughout the community, not only locally, but nationally. What you can absolutely put to bed as guaranteed the second season of Blood Time are more remarkable individuals, more transformative stories, and more Blood Time moments. Please give a listen to the second season, for we are all blood. Coach Cimoroni here. Love to all.
Hey, this is Maverick Peters on behalf of everyone at Blood Time. We just want to thank Ron Gross, Sammy Gross's dad, for all of his support. Ron, thank you.
Hey, this is Coach Cimoroni, Blood Time. We're in the second season, and I got a good friend here who actually was in our inaugural episode of season 1 and a favorite of mine at JCU, a lineage of incredible wrestling. Coach Mark Hawald, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And you've got a favorite son of the Bison, Sammy Gross, 2-time state champ from the famed Bison's 2014 season, right? How you doing, Sammy?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you're now a JCU Blue Streak. How about that, huh?
That is awesome.
It is,
Go
right?
Streaks.
I love it. Sammy, last year, man, horrible. I mean, how did that feel to make the national tournament and bingo, you're done?
It was weird, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, especially no one's ever dealt with something like that.
Right.
It was weird, but it was fortunately like everybody was going through everything together. So we were able to conglomerate and, we kind of, not conglomerate, we kind of got together and congregated and were able to mourn together and move on.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many different reactions. I had Jamie Milkovich in here last week, and he says, I'll never get over it. And he said he had 5 kids. Now think about this, Maple Heights. How incredible over 40 years this guy's been able to have that level of excellence, okay, in dynamically changing demographics, socioeconomic situations. And he had a kid, I think was undefeated going in there, was a mentor district champion. He says, my heart's been ripped out. I don't know how I'll recover. It's interesting, though, that, that perspective comes from a guy that I look at very courageously, but you're saying, let's move on.
Yeah, well, Coach Hawald did an awesome job with us. I remember we got a text message and it said, like, if this is the worst thing that has happened to you in your life, up to your, 20, 22 years old,
sure,
then you have had an awesome life. And he basically also set us a promise. Okay. He said, like, this isn't going to be the worst thing that happened to you.
Yes.
And
it's more of a threat.
It was
yeah, right.
But he said that, and I was
like
the perspective changed, and I was like, we're not going to evade death and heartbreak and stuff.
Sure.
And if losing the NCAA championships is the worst thing that happened to me in my 24 years of life,
yes,
then that's pretty awesome. So
and you have this year coming up, so that's a beautiful thing for you. And Mark, my goodness gracious, you have incredible perspective, having gone through 2 tragedies as a head coach. And shepherding your flock, if you will, through that process. Tell me a little bit about how those tragedies gave you perspective for last year.
Well, yeah, to that point with Sam, it's there's always something worse. And I don't mean this in a negative way against like other coaches or anything, but I've heard a lot of people are like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me as a coach. Right. I don't know how I'll get past this. And like in a moment, I almost feel a little like anger towards that guy. And I'm like,
yeah,
he doesn't mean anything against me.
Right.
And I'm like, I've had kids die,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that definitely puts things in perspective. I mean, yeah, I think weird's a good way that Sam put it. The whole thing was just weird. You're sitting there, we're wrestling, I actually was warming up with a wrestler from another school because we were kind of flipping around. And like, all right, well, this guy needs a partner. I was like, I'll go with him. If you give that kid to our guy, one of those deals. And then, to say, hey, all the safety precautions. Like, man, these people are already on the mats, intermixing, doing everything. Right. So, yeah, it was weird. In some ways, I also felt like there was a weight off the shoulders. I mean, obviously, the weight would have been preferred to fall off our shoulders Saturday evening.
Of course.
But, I viewed it like when someone in a family's dying and it's like when you finally get the call, like they're gone, you almost have that relief. And that's why I'm like, every moment, I mean, we were like getting in the car. I'm like, let's go. We got to get to the airport before someone stops us. I'm like looking around at the airplane. I'm like, like we did some crime or something. I'm like, all right, the plane's off the ground. Like we're doing this. So at every step I was just waiting for that bad news, and it came. I mean,
so there was no question then. You know where you're.
Yeah, I mean, I was prepared for it. I was, and obviously if I could change it, I would. In hindsight, and maybe the NCAA would agree. I think it was a premature decision. I think those 2 days weren't gonna cause any more issues than they did. But I mean, as a coach, you got to lead, and if the guys would have saw me crying or throwing things or MFing, then what kind of coach would I be? So,
but in some, I think visceral way, you probably did feel that.
Yeah, I mean,
did feel what every coach felt to some degree, even though you had a better perspective, right?
Yeah, it's
so
weird.
there's a whole myriad of feelings, right, going on. Yeah.
In some ways, you feel like we didn't have an entire year. Like, just you took away that 1 weekend, I felt like we had no year at all. In some ways, of course, but like, and I look at the current situation and some of the things I'm hearing about sports, pro sports, anti-sports, whatever.
Right.
Well, a very pro sport statement I would make is look at a football team and you say, people are like, oh, they shouldn't be playing, it's dangerous. Well, for 99% of those kids, it's not about the wins. It's not about the going to play in college. It's certainly not about going to play in the pros. It's about being a part of something.
It's a community.
Yeah, having people who is your friends, your family, and that's strong. Point being, I guess we still had that last year.
Gotcha.
We grew as a program. We grew as friends. I grew as a human being, quite frankly, just from dealing with all the personalities we have. I'm a father of two young boys, and every opportunity I work with my guys, I think I'm becoming a better dad. So it certainly was not a lost season in the growth, of what who we were in October to who we were in March. So maybe that perspective is helpful too for me.
Well, there's clearly numerous blood time moments then.
For sure.
Where you bonded with Sammy and his teammates in a different level, in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And so there's that beauty of, lemon lemonades, right? Type of thing. Lemon chiffon pie, lemon, whatever. Just make the biggest lemon thing that you can make out of the probably the stinkiest lemon we've ever seen in our sport. So, but Sammy, you've had a circuitous way to get to this point. You've had a very almost inspirational to some degree and sometimes desperate way of getting to where you're at now. I really respect it, and I really hold you in high regard for that. Not just that you're a Bison.
Yeah.
And I know, and I respect your father, but tell me a little bit about how you gravitated towards this wonderful coach here that sits next to you and this, storied program that got you to now. I think you're ranked one of the top, maybe 1, 2, 3 guys in the weight class going into this senior year.
I've always been gravitated toward Coach Hawald because I had seen him in passing. I think he's been good friends with my dad for, 15 years, something like that, But, and then when I went to John Carroll with zero intentions to wrestle.
Gotcha.
But I was kind of on the outskirts, and I saw what Coach Hawald was doing. And I came from a Division I program where it was much different than what Coach Hawald does.
Sure.
And I kind of saw it, and I don't know. Something grabbed. He's like a magnet. I couldn't stay away from him.
Yes.
And now I still can't stay. He wants to,
he's got you in your orbit. His orbit, right?
He's been trying to get rid of me for years.
That's right. I love that. So, you went to what, Northwestern?
Oh yeah, I was at Northwestern for about a year.
Fantastic university, tough program. Was going through some stuff. And do you want to share that with us, or do you want to just move on and talk a little bit about this situation with John Carroll? It's up to you.
I'll talk about I don't know. It was not for me. I was a homebody. I'm like a mama's boy.
Okay.
So
I feel you, man.
Yeah,
I'm a firstborn. I love my mama.
I love my mom.
Elizabeth June Cimoroni. I love you, baby. 84 years old and still Hurricane
An
Betty.
interesting thing, Pete, is with especially kind of, I think, falling into your blood time theme.
Sure.
So Drew Periano was
John
Sam.
Carroll.
Yeah. So he was a grad assistant.
Right.
My first year at Carroll, he was a grad assistant. So he was there for 3 years with coaching me. Huge mentor of mine. In many ways, a lot of things I say and do, I still to this day could probably trace back to him.
Sure.
Now, we're still great friends. We're still in touch. And I don't mean this to take credit, but I think in some ways I was the one who connected him with Sammy. I'm like,
Sure.
hey, I'm trying to get this guy, but because I was at Case at the time, I'm like, I don't. He's not coming to Case,
Right.
but he fits Northwestern. So I think I connected them, and then
He told me he threw it back your way. He told me.
yeah, and it's like,
that.
and
I
it's
love
so
that.
it's just
Yeah,
it's just weird, and then and
The
then
student becomes the teacher,
Yeah.
and the teacher becomes a student,
and then it kind of came full circle.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Ron, Sammy's dad, is in some ways a mentor of mine. You know, not necessarily wrestling as much. You know,
Sure.
he's in the financial industry, so I'll pick his brain. And actually, we bounce ideas all the time, Ron and I, about applying a business model to
Sure.
wrestling. So it's been pretty neat seeing things come full circle. And I talk to Drew Perrin all the time still, and he'll be like, Sammy, it's something that we kind of share. So it's pretty neat. It's this. I always describe it as a small inbred wrestling world. You know, we're all so connected and taking care of each other. And funny, Sam, I don't know if that was your freshman year or your sophomore year.
You visited.
Yeah, I was out in Chicago, and I went and hung out with Drew, and I called Sammy. I'm like, hey, I've never been to the facility. So Sammy took me on a tour through Northwestern. So,
I love that.
Yeah, and again, there was no intention of like, hey, this
Sure.
guy's going to wrestle for me.
You're just staying
Yeah.
connected. That's
So it was pretty good. I was sending his dad pictures. I was like, hey, look, I'm in Northwestern's wrestler. And his dad's like, what the hell?
I love that.
So yeah, it's awesome. It's a really cool connection. And of course, I have the Beachwood connection as well with my dad being a wrestler there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of
more
like,
than just a
Yeah,
wrestler.
it makes
Yeah.
sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense that this relationship has happened, based on all the history. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that's
for sure.
great. And your dad's more than just a wrestler. He was our first state champion in any sport, and he was our first NCAA titleist in any sport, let alone wrestling. So, Mark Hawald.
Not the last though, right, Sam?
Indeed.
No.
That's right.
Not
We're
the
ready.
last.
We're ready. Absolutely. And Sam, so you're, his blood time moment when he shared with us in first season was Tony DiGiovanni and his dad and a few other guys, but primarily Tony. And Dad, and he hears that voice. And he says stuff like you were just talking about Drew. Drew's maybe another blood time guy. Who's that blood time guy for you? Who's that coach? Who's that individual that said, Sammy, you can do this? Put his arm around you or maybe kick you in the butt? Or
I've had multiple, because like I said, I've had a couple comeback moments. I'll tell you the first blood time moment for sure is definitely Dr. Scott Peters, because I think when I was in youth wrestling, I want to say I went like 0-22 or something.
Wow.
No, I won a couple. I was like 4-22.
Okay.
And my mom comes up to Scott, and my mom grew up with Scott. She's like, my kid, he stinks. We need to quit. And Scott looked at her and he's like,
that's funny.
Don't quit. He'll be okay. And he believed in me at that point, and it was kind of from that moment where he was like, just let him stick around. Like he's gonna do okay.
And then you had a flip. There was a year where you just started to get really good.
I think it was when I started lifting weight. I was a weakling. I would get there were guys who were just developed, and I was scrawny little kid.
Right.
And then I started lifting weights, and then started not being as scrawny.
Gotcha.
It was good.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I don't know. There's so many moments. And then at Carroll, right? I saw what Coach Hawald was doing with. I mean, his staff. He had
Well, you said you're on the outskirts, and now you're not.
I mean, the most we got guys like Dar Sagafi coming to practice every day, and I was like, if Dar Sagafi can come to practice every day, there's something special here.
Yes.
And I think Dar might have been part of the reason that I came.
He was your main influence.
I think he might be part of my blood time.
You need to get Dar on here.
Well, I have Hesh on.
You did. I read it.
And Hesh was phenomenal, right? And I coached Dar.
Did you?
That's how long ago? Yeah, I coached Dar, and he was horrible, and I loved him. But he got good, and I was drilling with him way back. I went on the staff back in 09-10. That's Ben Adams' year.
Yep.
And so Dar was on staff, and we would drill, and he just hurt. To drill with him, he hurt.
I'm afraid of him. I won't touch him.
Yeah, because he was just like, it was like drilling with this desk. It's like there was not one little tiny soft piece on this guy. And he wasn't the greatest athlete, so he was always out of position a lot, and he would knock your head, or give you a knee or give you an elbow. So I get it. But the beauty of that is that he's, 60?
I think he's in his
59?
60s. Yeah.
Because I'm 63, so he's maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
4 years younger
I bet
than me.
she's right about 60.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's closing on 60, and he's still
still
an animal.
He's a like a training machine. It's unreal.
Right. He plays rugby against college kids.
That's crazy. God bless him. God bless him. Well, it's interesting. I was talking to a guy named Bruce Sherman. Your dad.
I know. Bruce was my cross country coach in high school.
All right, Bruce. Well, Bruce has run every day for like 44 years.
I saw his Facebook post. It was something about the consecutive.
It's insane. So
Yeah.
he's 65 years
I see
old.
him all the time driving to Carroll.
Yeah, and I talked to him because I want to get him on blood time, but he may or may not do it. But having said that, Bruce, God bless you, 65 years old, 44, 45 years, maybe 50 years of running every day. I don't know how that can possibly be, because there's days that I couldn't get out of bed, and he probably has felt that way, but got out of bed and did it, right? So
a few years ago when it was like negative, there was like weeks of negative weather.
Exactly right, and he's out there running,
So I see him all the time.
So that's your blood time moment, Dr. Scott Peters, and now Coach Mark Hawald.
Yeah.
And here we sit at the precipice of a potential national title. Sammy, how's that feel for you?
It feels really, I don't know. I mean, it's exciting. I'm trying to enjoy every moment. I've got a different perspective on things.
Okay.
Because I quit for 3 years. Not quit. I stepped away from the sport for 3
Sure.
years.
Yeah.
So now being back involved, like, there was a moment, I remember it was the regional tournament.
Yeah.
And I, like, the Star Spangled Banner's playing. I looked at my dad.
Yes.
And, like, I don't even know what we said, but we both just started crying, just tears of, like, appreciation because of just, like, a different perspective. Like, I never thought I was going to wrestle again.
Yes.
And then now being able to come back and, like, compete to hopefully win a national championship.
Yes.
It's like, you said it to me. I remember
Yeah.
I was in high school. You looked at me before the state wrestling tournament. You said, drink it in.
Yes.
I was like, that's what I've been trying to do every single day.
Right on, bro. Well, let's take a break. Great comment. And we'll be back with that whole mentality in a few minutes.
Defense Soap at defensesoap.com. In the midst of our current health crisis, we at Blood Time want to thank Guy and Gus Seiko and the team at Defense Soap as a beacon of our protection. Body wipes, skin cleansers, bars of soap, shower gels, and disinfectant tablets. All this and more as Defense Soap is on the front line of our protection. Thanks to the Seiko family and their team at Defense Soap. Check them out for all your protection needs during these precarious times. Defense Soap at defensesoap.com.
And we're back with Sammy Gross and Mark Hawald, head coach at John Carroll University, and his top-ranked wrestler, former Beachwood, two-time state champ, bookend state champs. Am I correct or no?
No, I got a sophomore and
sophomore.
senior.
That's right. You were almost, bookend was Kevin Lipp.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're in rare company at Beachwood High School. How did it feel to win your second state title? Yeah.
I mean,
well, we just talked about it, right?
Yeah, it was really cool, especially because, like, one of my best friends, Ryan Harris, won his state championship like 20 minutes after mine, and we got to just, like, hug each other and have that awesome moment together.
Never happened before in Beachwood history in any sport.
2 state champs together? Or two? Really?
Two-time state champs.
Oh, yeah?
On the same day.
Yeah.
Never happened. So
Beachwood's greatest day, I guess?
Beachwood's greatest day.
Ever.
You experienced Beachwood's greatest athletic achievement.
I'd say any achievement, honestly, not just athletic.
That's
I
right.
don't know. We had some really cool alumni.
Yeah, we had some cool alumni that won Grammys, and the eighth employee of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so yeah, there's some cool guys. Also, I think one person was in Obama's administration. So
Okay.
interesting stuff. But
never 2 guys in the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
day.
never 2 guys in the same day. So yeah, so Mark, I want to throw it back to you and talk about what we're going through as a sport and really as a country, and the interesting leadership we're having in regards to our sport, and our sport is courageous, if anything, and we're always leading with, I think, courage. I try to lead with courage. Tell me what your leadership style is through this.
Well,
serious
it's been
pandemic.
tough because I think I'm a nice balance of very hands-on and very hands-off. So what I mean is I will do anything and everything when asked, but also really believe in kind of setting you free. So, for example, use lifting. We have a very specific lifting program. It's very down to last. Every detail is pre-calculated. We use percentages and grow and all this different stuff.
Sure.
But I just hand it to you and say, get it done. Right. So I
So
like to be.
It's like when you in business, like you hire adults and you let them do their job.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So yeah, you could say to compare, I would be probably very particular about who I would hire, but I wouldn't want to look over their shoulder and make sure they're doing their work. And that's kind of my approach, you know.
I like
so I think in some ways our guys are well prepared because the way I've coached is been, hey, figure it out. You're adults.
Yep.
You want to be great. But then at the same time, you know, we're about relationships, and Zoom videos is not how you build relationships. So, or keep them, I suppose.
Or teach.
Yeah, there's just so many things. So it's certainly a challenge. In many ways, I think it's just our guys' time to shine. You know, maybe like cream rises to the top kind of thing, right? Because if you're going to sit here, and the latest communication I've had was, if you're going to sit here and feel bad for yourself, you're getting passed up or you're not making progress. So you gotta start taking care of some business on your own. But it's certainly been tough. But yeah, I mean, with our sport, you know, I've talked to people, of course, who are sitting there like, oh, wrestling, like never gonna have that ever again, huh? You know, the way I look at it, and I try to be respectful of all different opinions, but it's always you when there's challenges, you kind of, you know, say this one's a global challenge, it affects everybody. Your opinions are typically based on how it affects you. So when people wrestle, for example, I think we probably have a more let's get back to normal attitude because this is what's important. If you've always worked on at home from your computer, you might say, what's the big deal? So but I think that being said, wrestling is in many ways perhaps the best prepared sport for something like this, despite the you know, exchange of you know, blood and sweat and everything that happens in a match. We're the only sport, to my knowledge, that has pre-match, only, we'll say, high school collegiate sport, pre-match medical examinations. You know, people call them weigh-ins, or I'm sorry, skin checks, but listed in the NCAA rules, it is a medical examination.
Yes, it is.
We have cleaning supplies for our facilities. If you go look on a lot of those cleaning supplies on things that kill, a lot of them say COVID, whatever, you know,
well,
diseases.
We're the deep cleaning sport.
Yeah.
We are the deep cleaning
so
sport.
this is normal. We've dealt with things like skin infections. So, and in many ways, the cross, I don't know what the science word would be, the cross contamination. I'm on a mat with one other person. In a lot of sports, you're on the field with several other people. So, I think in some ways we're well prepared for this. You know, it's getting maybe the public opinion to understand it. But the thing I talk about is, and I've used this thing of wrestling is a sport where you get your face shoved on the ground. Yes. And the only way to get it off, or on the mat, I guess, is to fight it off. Right. And that's what life does. Yes. You know, when you are in a deep, dark corner out of a sweaty wrestling room and someone's on top of you with their forearm in the back of your head, there's not a group of people coming over to pick you up. You got to figure it out. And so, tough time in life, job, whatever, marriage, kids, family, or a worldwide pandemic. Yes. Time to, you know, figure it out and fight through it. So that's kind of, I think, where wrestling will prevail because we're fighters. I've always said wrestling has been a sport that's provided the worst resources but the best experience because our coaches are we're fighters, you know, and that's what we want, what's best for our kids, and we get it. And sometimes the grittiness, the dirtiness, the cutting corners financially, that's what makes our sport great, right? So that's how I feel about it. I think we'll prevail, we'll figure it out. We just got to get through this short-term chaos of you know, what we're dealing with right now.
I love this, and I love that, again, courage. You know, the courage to take it on and the courage to succeed and the courage to figure it out. And again, my assistant coach for 2 years, who I love dearly, who's no longer with me because he went back to Dallas, but he used to call it the honest sport. So it's the honest and courageous sport. It's the honest, and he still does, Jake Goodwin. Sammy, how are you preparing for your senior year, your final year, and what's this thrown at you, and what courage have you found in yourself to move forward?
It's been a unique summer because it's been challenging, but it's been so much fun.
Okay.
In the sense that like I'm learning new stuff.
Nice.
Like early on when the gyms were closed, I was going out in my backyard throwing rocks and lifting like cinder blocks, and I was like, it was almost kind of like if you think of Rocky IV. Yeah, previous.
Drago.
No, I'm not Drago. I'm Rocky.
I know. Drago, you're going after Drago.
I was climbing the mountain and I was climbing a mountain, and then it's also just been so there's no place to wrestle, so I've just been lifting and running and trying unique ways to better myself with meditation, with yoga. I started doing yoga. My girlfriend and I do that, and I'm terrible. It's bad. Yeah. But just kind of trying to find unique ways to get a mental edge on people and trying to push myself and stay focused is really, I don't know, I'm having fun.
Yeah. And so are you communicating with the coaching staff? Obviously, you're here with your coach, but are you communicating on a regular basis? What kind of communication is happening there?
Not as much as I would, because in a normal situation, I'd be seeing Coach every day.
Of course.
And he'd be kicking me out of his office because I'm there too much. I got nothing. But so, I mean, we've had team Zooms and if there's an issue, we'll talk. But it's really been kind of like, he's like, kicking me out of the nest, like, Gross, you've been wrestling for, you're 25 years old, you know what you're doing. So go figure it out. But that's kind of how, like, Coach was saying, his hands-off approach. And I think this helps us. I mean, I remember, so last year, I think, was the coolest preseason event that I've ever been a part of, the preseason team. Because so in Division III, coaches are not allowed to have any preseason. They can't, I don't even know if, like, they're not allowed to run workouts. They're not allowed to do anything. Yeah. And our group of leaders last year got together and we decided, like, we're going to have this rigid preseason. We're going to run at 7 a.m. and we're going to 5 a.m., right? 3 a.m., whatever. And we're going to do it hard.
Shades of Tony DiCarlo. Oh my God.
And we all did that together without coaches is hands-on, right? I think last year we had a group of really awesome seniors and some juniors and national qualifiers that took leadership without coach. I mean, he had nothing to do with it.
Sure.
And I think that's, right now, we can't have anything to do with him. So I think when we had that leadership last year, our guys are pretty prepared that, I mean, they know what to do.
Yeah. Well, that's good news. That's real good news, because in any business, any organization, you got to have people figuring it out. But more importantly, being creative to find solutions. And this is what you're talking about, Mark. We are a solution-oriented sport. Providing we have some semblance of talent and some semblance of facility and then some semblance of support, we can pretty much figure it out with baling wire and and Scotch tape, right? But when we're given a little bit, we perform a lot, and that's the beauty of what we're talking about here. And so here we are. We're in a very interesting time of life. You're going to hopefully wrestle in January. I think that's
January. I mean, nothing's set in terms of our schedule, but our pre-scheduling process says we start with January, and regionals and nationals are as scheduled, last weekend of February and second week of March. So nothing has changed as of now.
Well, this is what I'm hearing from the OHSAAs. Like we were talking to Adam Hoon, and supposedly it's going to be January 1st. Obviously. Just dual meets.
For high school. Okay.
Just dual meets in high school. We're going to start mid-December, I think. So the Ironman's canceled. The dual meet tournament is canceled. So you're not going to see any tournaments, maybe a league tournament. But for sure, if it goes the way they wanted to do it, it's going to be dual meets only and then Central District State.
Wow. I kind of like that, though.
Well, it's interesting because it is old school as it gets.
For sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, when I was in high school, we had the league tournament, and the Kenston tournament, and everything else was dual meets. Maybe a try once in a while. That was weird.
And what was the attendance? I mean, you guys probably got.
Oh my God! I went to a Mentor Maple.
I know what you're talking about.
Mentor Maple dual meet that literally was insane.
They have more people there than they get for the Mentor district.
Oh, for sure.
Jamie was telling me
Yeah.
people were breaking into the school because they wouldn't let anyone
There's
else
probably
in.
cops there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was there as a senior. I mean, I was I was a senior wrestler for Beachwood, but I wanted to go see it. And the other dual meet that was just as insane was the 1979 dual meet between Beachwood and Richmond Heights. And all three of the Weiss brothers got kicked out. Earl, Gene, and Lenny got kicked out of the arena, and it was absolutely packed. So that stuff was fantastic. And there's always the story about Butchie at the state tournament with 11,000 people stomping their feet, waiting for him to hit the twine. But also, too, Tom Milkovich winning his third state title. Jamie was in here, and I got chills thinking about it. He was just talking about how people literally rose to their feet after he won that third title and probably clapped for 10 minutes straight. So that's the kind of thing that maybe we get back to. Maybe this is a throwback. Maybe this is a way of getting back to our roots. Who knows? But you know what? It's thrown at us, and as wrestlers, we're going to take it on. We're going to maybe grab it by the throat or put it over our shoulders and carry maybe the rest of the sport world with us. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, I think that's
so.
the big thing. Whatever it is, we got to be happy. But I've talked to I wish I could just know that we can be there or not come March. That's my biggest thing.
Exactly.
I just wish we could know. But at this point, we're planning everything. I tell our guys, as is, because it's just the last thing you'd want is for normalcy to resume and you're not ready for it. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild time, that's for sure.
Well, guys, you've been phenomenal. Sammy, I want you to leave somebody with a shout out and a gem, if you will, Blood Time gem, if you could.
Blood Time gem?
Yeah, absolutely. Or a shout out to somebody, either one. Or
I'm gonna give a shout out to my old club coach from high school, Coach Hewitt.
Nice.
He's the man. So awesome. Shout out to Coach Hewitt.
And then any idea, any thought, any gem that you'd like to leave us with that's inspired you?
Go out and work out.
All right, I like that. Not yoga though.
Yeah, if you want.
That's right. But work out, move.
Yeah, get active.
Eat less, move more.
Yeah. Oh, quarantine. I mean, most people have gained weight in quarantine. My family's lost like 80 pounds because of collective.
I love that. That's awesome. And Mark, I'll throw it to you. Shout out and a Blood Time gem.
I'll give a shout out to that Drew Periano because a little wrestling triangle with him, me, and Sammy here. I think is pretty cool and
great wrestling family.
Yeah, absolutely. So regardless of if Sam achieves his goals, I think Drew and I can look at and other people have coached Sam and say this guy's come. We're happy with who he is today. And a gem. Let's see. That's like a thought or something.
Yeah.
We have a thing. Actually, it's not. It's a thing. It's a rule. One of our team rules is make your situation the best situation. So
nice.
Whatever is happening right now, I'd like to think I can reflect, and anyone else could reflect and say, I'm actually better because of this, because that's how I approach my life. I don't know if that's true of myself yet, but I'm still working on it. So make your situation the best situation, no matter what it is.
Fantastic, Mark. Thank you. Sammy, we love you being in here. We love your road. You're going to do it. If nothing else, drink it in, baby.
Yes.
Drink it in, okay? And I'm glad that you're with the Blue Streaks. Phenomenal program, great university. I'm biased, and Mark, again, I can't love your family anymore. Your father was my original hero, inspiration, superhero, whatever, and you are just doing a phenomenal job with the legacy of our great university and great sport. So keep doing it.
We'll do.
Guys, thanks so much.
Thanks.
We are Blood. This is Coach Cimoroni. Love to all. I want to share my thought of the day with you. Truth, inescapable truth. It matters not from which voice it comes. Men, are you looking for that great suit or sports outfit made out of the finest fabrics and made to measure tailoring? J&A Custom Clothing, Tailoring, and Alteration will come to your home or office and give you that fashion statement that you will be known for. Call J&A Custom Clothing and the owner, Joseph Alberstadt, at 216-513-6165. That's J&A Custom Clothing, 216-513-6165.